we go. Renee. Okay. Very good.
Calling the meeting to order at 5:04 p.m. Present is Dan Millard. Did I say it correctly?
Yes.
Dan Millard, Fred Haynes, Laura Ingham, Claire Kellogg, Maureen Cole, and Linda Ackerman. And Ackerson, sorry. I worked with an Ackerman, I'm sorry. And we will start with the approval of minutes. Is that what?
Sure. Well, yeah, so I apologize for the order of this because it's just a little bit different, but I would ask that we start with number 2 and what the information that was going to be executive session. I was uneducated and uninformed by my own problem of not looking to see what could be in a executive session. And I was kind of assuming that all contracts were like real estate contracts, which is what had previously enabled us to do executive session.
Okay.
But what we wanted to do today, I wanted to bring Krista Bailey from Cressa with me and just review the scope of service that the architect and we have been working on, and maybe talk about some other things having to do with the architect and the building project. And so it could be that we talk about the building project report at this point in time too. It just might make sense. But the interviews are actually scheduled for 5:45 and 6. And so if we can like do like all of our businessy stuff now,
Yep.
we might even have like extra time, but they're supposed to come at, see, the interviews were supposed to start at 5:30, but one of the candidates dropped out when she found out we had 3. She said, "You don't need me." So I just, instead of changing it all, I just left it 5:45 and 6.
Okay.
Okay? So the executive session topic that we were going to talk about is the scope of service for the architect, and we have some copies for you. They're all, okay.
Thank you.
Hi. Would you like to join us up here? We're talking about the scope of service of the architectural work.
Sure, thank you.
You might be very interested in that.
It should be.
This one's on. Do you want to sit at this one? Because Dawn is in class and won't make it.
I'll just listen.
Okay, all right. Well, let me give you this. This is our discussion.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So the reason I wanted to bring this in front of you today was because quite often when things come up at city commission meetings, they ask if it's gone by the library board. And so in contracts, they're this complicated thing that I haven't been through a lot, and so maybe I'm doing things out of order, but I thought it would be okay to share the scope of service. And this should pretty much be in alignment with the RFP. You know, these are all the things that we asked them to do in the RFP. So with a few assumptions broken out. And like the very first one about the historical designation, just I want to be sure that you guys know that that's already something that the Community Development Department has been working on, as getting the Carnegie with the National Historic Designation. And it doesn't change anything for the building per se because it was already locally designated historic. So that should be coming up pretty much in April or so anyway. And that's just completely done by somebody else. It doesn't cause us any labor or anything. And then we had started thinking about doing the CMGC build format, and that is statutorily allowed, but you have to get an exemption for it. It's a little bit different than other kinds of build. And what it is you bring in the general contractor, the construction manager, in the design process.
Yeah.
Really early on, so that they can review all the stuff that's going on very early and make sure that their input is included. And then the concept is that there's fewer change orders later down the pike, and that they're already talking about, you know, the less expensive or the better thing to do with the architect and the project manager and the team up front. So, but you do have to go through a process to get like an exemption on that.
And who does that process go through?
Well, it'll be stuff that we probably, you know, might come up with. I'll draft something, and it'll give reasons for you have to justify it, and then you like have to like post it to the world, I think. So it'll be like
and
on
justifying
our,
it to city commission, or
well, they
to
probably
what
have to
body?
approve
Okay.
it, but it's kind of like you meet the statutory requirements. So I'll
Okay.
probably have to work with our city attorney a little bit. And so one of the libraries down in like Southern Oregon has this beautiful, fantastic justification on their website that I can just like look at and say, there is the format right there, you know? Why do it again?
Right.
But you do have to say there's a reason that we're doing it this way. And I think this project is a really good opportunity for this method, though, you know, because it's a little bit complicated. We're just building basically a box behind a building, but because of the building that we have, you know. So anything else that we want to point out in the assumptions?
No, I think, and this isn't meant for you to have to digest in detail or anything. We wanted to just share with you. Bo and I have been working with the architect of, you know, preference for the last few weeks to dial in exactly what this scope is and what it looks like. And so it essentially has been outlined to cover what the project requires in the way of their effort. So, and so I think it was just really important for us to bring that update to you, and certainly give you an opportunity that if you had questions about this future partnership, that we could answer them. So.
It's kind of a lot to digest.
Yeah, and it's meant to, we're still working through exactly how the specific contract details and how it will be put into place, but this covers what should be the whole project, and we've got a little bit more work to do to finish dialing that in. And the intent would be is that it'll be opted in as on a task by task basis. So as we move through the phases of the project, and that's amenable and agreeable by the architect. So you'll see it's essentially broken out in the phases that it'll go through.
So what we'll do is once we get this all figured out, we'll bring the contract to the city commission to get approved. And, you know, we'll be making sure that it meets our budgetary requirements, or is like within a range of our budgetary requirements, so that we can afford it, you know. But then what our city attorney was telling me is that they prefer to, you know, approve like the entire project, even if we just do it kind of step by step. So I think it's kind of like an up to thing. You know, this is approved up to this amount. So we're still working on that a little bit. There's a lot to think about. So does anybody have any questions off the top of their head? I mean, it's kind of a lot of technical information.
Architect has been decided upon?
Well, we have selected our top candidate, and that's who we're negotiating with. And unless things fall apart, then that's who we would be working
And
with.
we aren't privy to that yet.
Well, it's right on this form.
Yeah, but it isn't public
But we're not saying
information
it.
But
yet.
yeah, but it will be kind of now,
Yeah.
if anybody
They
cares to
deserve
look.
it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. The people who are not, who were interviewed and are not first choice, they know that they're not first
Yeah.
choice. Yeah, they've already been notified. But yeah.
I guess I'm curious with the CMGC piece, does that need to be in place before approval from the city commission, or is that something we wait on?
CMGC?
Yeah.
That will be another step down the road.
Okay.
Because that's then hiring that whole big gigantic piece as well.
Okay.
Yeah. And another piece will be the project manager.
Okay. Okay.
thing.
There is, for the architect perspective, there is a financial component to if it were not to be a CMGC, but we know what that value is, and we'll have it contemplated in the contract value as an option.
Okay.
So.
So, Mo, is there something you need from us on this?
No,
Okay.
I just wanted to,
Mhm.
kind of give you this information.
What
And
is,
Looks
allow
good.
you to digest it.
what's the building committee? Who's the building committee?
Well, we have to decide that,
Oh,
or
we
I
have to
do, or
decide
somebody.
that.
It has to
Right.
be decided who exactly that is,
Right.
And that's up for discussion. Like how big it should be,
Yeah.
who should be. I would like to actually get some advice from people who've gone through the process before on staff, like what's worked well for them. Not everybody has a board to use, but it's not necessarily that you just want to
Transfer
invite
it
the whole
over.
board and just make them it either, There may be some community members who would be really, really good at that and really, really interested, and that it would help the project a lot to have them included. So it's worth thinking about.
Mhm.
And if you have any thoughts on that, I would, just let me know whenever.
What was the responsibility of the building committee?
It's
Very.
something that needs to be defined, and in this proposal, it's probably a pretty generalized term that could actually end up being more than one group, because ultimately there will be a project team that supports Mo on actually getting it done, that are working on it for many hours a month, and then there will be most likely a committee that is kind of that design advice committee of people that are representing the different stakeholders of who's going to use and who's vested in the library, that will be the checkpoints. And then there's you guys who are another checkpoint for that. So I think that's something that still, as this relationship with the architect comes together, and as that kind of org chart gets structured, it needs to have some definition. And like Moa said, it'll be important to speak with both people that have recently done libraries from their experience, and from the architect, in terms of how do you best make sure you're capturing the information from the people, but also where do you make sure that you've got the right people in the room when it's time to make really important decisions. So.
Yeah, and you don't want it to be so big that, you just go in circles all the time and you can't make
Yeah.
decisions as well. So, Fred,
So-
you're shaking your head like you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that something that we want to add that on for a future agenda item when you feel like it's ready to make a decision?
We probably could discuss it like next month. I
Okay.
hope to be doing some investigating on that and have
Okay.
some ideas. Yeah, that's a good idea.
And if I might pose a question,
Mm.
some of these things have been budgeted ahead of time. That is, it's not part of the bond per se. But how much of the things that we talk about will be covered by the bond? Obviously, this preliminary work is not, because we haven't passed a bond yet.
Well, right, but we just had our discussion last night about not
Yeah.
spending money before the bond.
Right.
So this is good that you bring this up with this group.
All right.
So, we have like $3-point-something million set aside that we could use before bond passage. I mean, we would never ever get close to spending all that money.
Mm-hmm.
But, depending on what work, there's a lot of work that could get done ahead of time, or there's zero work that could get done ahead of time. We had our conversation last night about spending very little work, and because of the perception that it would look like we are proceeding with the project that's not fully funded, and it's not a wise expenditure until it's fully funded.
Now, this discussion was triggered by a citizen's email I got, actually querying that. I mean, we may have had that discussion in any case, but a concern expressed by a citizen that came in on an email. Even so, time is being expended on this project, no matter what. I mean, it's staff time and so forth, and
Right.
you couldn't do it any other way.
No, I mean, I have to keep working on certain aspects of it, but there's more or less that could be done on it. We could start public meetings or we could not do public meetings. There's a lot of work that could be done in the background and still cost some amount of money,
Sure.
but it would not be as transparent because it would be background work, but it would be work that would have to get done regardless. So like the programming of like how much space we want for each area in the library and that kind of thing, that could definitely use some refining because, well, that just needs refining. That came together very quickly for our cost assumptions. And so that's the kind of work that I could be working on with the architect without involving a lot of people. But on the other hand, if we did that later with input from people, then, you know, it might be a more informed decision as to like where things were in the library. You know, we have some of that information already, you know, because people have responded to a survey. But, you know, if we're going to have a true public process, we want to be sure that it like really means something as well. You know, so we need to be careful about like going too far down too many roads if we're not going to invite the public in on it, I think. So.
Well, so the meetings we've had with the public was what services they need from the library. But are you thinking that we will also want them to say, well, I want a 2-story library, or I want, you know, it just seems like it could go on forever if you're asking those sorts of specifics.
So I think that's something that one of the reasons that this architect is the one that is the first choice and is going, you know, hopefully going to be recommended and approved, is that they've done a number of these processes and they've explored that in communities and have a lot of approaches and process for exploring the things that they want to hear from the community. And I think putting those questions out there in a way that they're getting good feedback and not just opening it up to everybody's individual idea, but really trying to frame it from the perspective of here's what we know now, then how do we make it yours. So I think that will be part of that process, and that's the way they've proposed. And so it just really comes down to is when do we start on that, and when do we really dig into that, and then how do we open it up to the public forum appropriately to get that feedback. So you're right, there's been a preliminary exploration about what do we need in it. We did do that for purposes of a feasibility to establish that we really needed this and that there really is a good, solid project here. There's more of that to do because that was, like Mo said, a really quick process to really confirm that we are on the right track. We need to get deeper into that now that it's becoming more of a reality, or hopefully it is.
And I think all that would be set up in a timeline. It's not something that's going to drag on and on and on. I mean, there will be a period, public comments and so forth, and decisions will be made. So,
yeah, you kind of define that up front, you know, and the architect helps establish that for you. So it's like, you know, there's a process you go through, and everybody gets their chance to like have input, but it's like kind of there's decision points along the way. So it's like, okay, well, this has been decided now. We're not going back and redoing just because you have this like idea, you know, or it's not the way you want it, because it's never going to be the way everybody wants it, right?
Right. The idea is to make it the best functioning building and service for the most number of people.
The right amount of
Specifically,
money.
the people who are
Yeah.
actually going to use it.
Yeah, that would be good. That would be good. Yeah, that would be really good. Like,
And the people that have to run it.
yeah, functioning for staff would be like really good because that would save money in the long run. You know what I mean?
Well, we need some
Yeah.
actual office.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, that would be good. So, I mean, you know, these are the people who have been through this kind of process many, many times before in like way more tangly of snarly communities than this is. You know.
You don't know how snarly it is yet.
No, but you know, we've seen a lot of support for this project so far, is what
yes.
we've been experiencing. So I think
good.
that there's going to be a wide variety of opinions, no doubt. But I think overall, it will be pretty favorable stuff that we hear, and I think we're going to hear some great ideas.
Yeah.
But anyway, so.
I just hope that the only thing that the situation is not one where the only thing they can agree on is yes, we need a new library.
Yeah.
if everything falls apart at that point, then we've got a problem.
But see, I think that's why you have a building committee.
Right.
And you have those people that are kind of designated as bringing, whatever recommendations forward to city commission or whatever, that is like, this is what we think it should be, and,
After citizen input, this is what we
Yeah,
recommend.
right, after hearing from everybody, this is what we think, yeah. But as the mayor mentioned, we were planning on having like all those meetings like soon, starting really soon, and keeping up interest in the project and everything. But, there's that question that is begged, well, why are you having these meetings when you don't really have your funding all lined up yet? Are we just like talking into air? Why are we doing this now? Why aren't you waiting? So I've been advised that we should like kind of
Dial it down a little.
a lot. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Good.
Anything else?
Anything else on this topic?
I think so.
Okay.
Thank
That's
you for-
super. Great.
Thanks for the
Thank you
update.
very
Yeah.
much. Yeah. Since we're talking about building stuff, can I just like go to the item 7, which is our building report? I don't know what like Nancy would think.
Do we want to just do the approval of the minutes quickly?
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Can we do that and then go through
Yes.
public comments? So if you take a look at the January 2014 minutes,
Do we accept them as is?
So moved.
do we have
Oh, yeah, it says 2013, sorry.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so we've approved the minutes. Moving to public comments. I believe there are none.
Easy one.
And we're hopping ahead to item number 7, the building project update.
Talk to you later.
Since it's a continuation of the conversation we've just been having, and then we'll move back to the director's report after.
Okay, let me just find my reports here. So you've already heard about what we're doing with the architect. And with the project manager, we have done the RFP and we've got 8 proposals, which was really, really good considering it was snowing, like very, very hard. But we did extend it because of the snow. We extended it once because of a question that came up that we felt everybody would benefit from hearing the answer to, and that it might actually affect how they feel they completed one section, which is about the fees. And then we extended it because of the snow. So this past Monday, just 2 days ago, was our final deadline, and we received 8 by then. Scott Archer, who is the community service director, Denise McGriff, who is the chair of McLaughlin Neighborhood Association and lots of great experience. Don Wright and I are the selection committee for this. And because of the snow and because of the changing deadlines, we moved everything back by 1 week. And then when we interview, we're just going to interview 3 candidates, so we have to whittle down 8 very, very good proposals to 3. And then when we negotiate with that contract, we can kind of adjust for a little bit of the change of our timeline and how we're moving some of our work back. We haven't changed our work, but we're moving it a little bit back to the assurance of having the bond passage. So that will happen. And so they may or may not even start doing that much before the bond. We'll have them hired, but how much they do is kind of up in the air.
Okay.
And then as far as the bond thing goes, today I finished my staff report for the explanatory statement, which was a really fun exercise in revision. And that will go in front of the City Commission next week. And that is the final piece to all of the stuff that goes on the ballot. So the explanatory statement actually gets printed on the ballot with the, ballot language and stuff, and it gives people more information about what this whole thing is, and you can use up to 500 words, and it's supposed to be neutral and all that. So you're not supposed to say vote for this, vote for this. You're supposed to use relatively neutral and factual language. So that's done, and that will go in front of the City Commission next week, and then the other parts of it already have been published, and they're going through their challenge period, and this doesn't need to do that, but it all has to go up to the elections office at the same time together as a package. So there's that, and then so because we're slowing down a little bit in the architect, what they're doing ahead of the bond, and we need to rework that contract a little bit, and there are some questions that we need to get resolved anyway. That's coming off of the commission agenda for next week. So it will just be the explanatory statement. And so I had asked that maybe some of you could be there, but I'm not sure that you really need to be there for that unless it just really shakes your boat that you want to be there. Because the resolution stuff that you were there for has already passed. So if it works, great. If not, I think it's okay. And that will be the only thing on. Okay. So that is, any questions about that?
Well, are you going to go down, what else is here about public employee restriction?
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that part. So I sent you guys some information about the fact that you are considered to be public employees in your role as a library board member. And so you cannot advocate for or against issues on ballots as a library board member. You have to be acting as a private citizen.
Oh, you can act separately.
Absolutely, you can act separately.
Okay.
But it has, so from here, you could not be saying,
Correct.
I'm a library board member and you should vote for this. And you should not go out into the community and say, I'm a library board member and I want you to vote for this. But you can go out to the community and say, hi, I'm Laura Ingham, a community member. I live right down the street from you. I think you should vote for this. So you just need to be careful about that.
So we could join the PAC.
Absolutely,
if we
you can
wanted
join the
to.
PAC
Correct.
as an individual citizen.
Yeah.
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 So I just wanted to alert you to that because it's kind of a quirky thing
I know, it's important to know.
No.
that as a board member you
You
are.
can get yourself in trouble if you
Yeah,
do
Mm-hmm.
that.
yeah, exactly.
And if people know that we're library board members, they'll want to converse that way, but it's just that verbal part saying, as a citizen, this is what I
Citizen, yeah.
think,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think I sent you the link to the guidelines that the Secretary of State does. And those are worth reviewing. I mean, it's kind of confusing, but it does have those scenarios like, can I do this? Can I do that? So it's kind of helpful.
Mhm.
So, been alerted? Okay?
Alerted.
Okay, great.
Well, that
Okay.
number of times.
And do we want to go back to the library director's report?
Yeah. Yep.
So, remember last month I said that statistics were down and we were wondering about all the other libraries in Clackamas County?
Yeah.
So it was really funny because at our last director's group meeting, before I even opened my mouth, somebody said, are any of your statistics down? Freaking out, what's going on, you guys? So basically, not everybody's, but a lot of people's statistics are down noticeably over more than just 1 month. And so we can't really figure out what's going on, but everybody's keeping a really sharp eye on it. So this month, statistics were just at 91.5% of, I see I put my interesting dots in there, of a year ago, which it's just something to keep an eye on. Library to go checkouts are up by quite a bit, 500, 550, which is great that the electronic usage is increasing.
Did other people find that to be similar at their libraries as well?
That's increasing. One of the reasons it's increasing is that Clackamas County, all of us libraries are putting money into our own little collection. And so therefore, I think that's really helping.
Does that count your Kindle / Nook stuff, or?
Well, those are kind of different. They only get counted individually as like a checkout for the Kindle. We
Okay.
can't really track how many books are of those titles that are loaded on there
Okay.
are read. You know?
Right, because the
'Cause it's not
to-go
a
thing is an
download.
individual book with an individual
Yeah.
license, and that you can track, but the
Right.
physical Kindles that you check out, that's, what, 20 books per Kindle?
Yeah,
or
I don't
something
know how
like
many
that?
are on each.
Almost 30.
But so that just gets counted. They might read 5 of them, but it only gets counted as one checkout.
Right.
Yeah,
Are they still checking out
hmm
heavily?
they are. And we need to get back on that project with Dawn's. Yeah. Anyway, so those are up.
And do you think that that's part of the job?
I think it's only a small part of it.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I just, I don't really know what it is. So the door count is up. So the circulation is down, the door count is remaining steady. So people are coming in, but they're using materials differently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So they're using the
Exactly.
library in different ways.
Right.
So they're using the Wi-Fi, they're using the internet, all that stuff, which is great.
One of the things and I don't know if this is the place to talk about, but I was thinking about it regarding the tax forms and accessibility via only online for a lot of it. How do we track our computer usage?
We have a figure.
Okay.
You mean the
public access terminals.
So if you look down the page, it's right underneath like cultural passes and patron registrations, public internet computer sessions.
Okay.
But we haven't been tracking it for a really long time is the
Yeah.
problem, so we don't have comparison figures.
Okay.
But you can see it's like at 1,600, and I looked through the like the past 6 months or whatever, and it's always around like 1550, and that averages out to about 30 a day. 30,
Yeah.
50? 50, I'm sorry. 50 a day sessions.
Mm-hmm.
And so that means that I think I figured out that there's like a potential of as many as 82 sessions a day. But, you could be on it for more than 1 hour and it could get rolled into the same session, I think, too. So they're pretty well used.
Yeah. That's what I'm imagining.
Yeah.
I mean, because not everyone has a smartphone and not everyone has a computer at home.
Right.
So
And not
I
everybody
think
has
that
Wi-Fi.
It has
So that's
Wi-Fi.
the other thing is a lot of people bring their computer in and
Yeah.
use it at the
Yeah.
library.
Yeah.
And I swear, we could just fill up as many tables as we could fit in there.
Are you able to monitor that Wi-Fi usage?
No, I can't think of a way. If you could think of a way, you could let me know. I mean,
because that does seem like a vital piece as well in terms of
right.
Well,
funding justification.
you should be able to track, if
Who's done a user
whatever usage is going on your individual things. That should be easy. But when somebody brings in their own machine, there should be an address or a tag for that machine that's associated, and you should be able to look at how many times an outside machine is pinging your Wi-Fi.
I mean, you have to click on the user agreement.
Right. So, unless
Okay.
unless
Well, that's-
somebody's coming in.
I mean, not meaning to add work to it, but I
don't
just
know.
thinking
You might be able to
increasingly-
find out.
Even if I were to bring my personal machine into the library, it's the library's system is there and it says, okay, we've got a new machine coming in to
Right.
log in, and there's on my end it's like, do you want to hook into this
Yeah.
system? Unless I've got it set up that this is a safe system, automatically do it. It's still the system should be have things built into it that would allow you to track each time it's accessed by an outside
Well,
source.
let me ask, because that would be very interesting to know.
But I'm wondering how valuable that is, because practically every public building has Wi-Fi now. It's not that special to have Wi-Fi.
Well, but it doesn't mean if it's special or not. It's still like one of the uses that we have. That's very.
If you find out how many people are coming in,
Using
the library.
your space and using the library.
Yeah.
And that's it. I think in terms of approaching our building design for the new building, we
Right.
need to think about how are people using the building and how are they using it differently than what we
Right.
anticipate for
It's
traditional
not
usage.
It's not so much the what, because as she said, all public buildings have got a Wi-Fi setup into it, but not everybody's going to walk into City Hall and sit down at a table and start using the Wi-Fi just because.
Mm-hmm.
They will go to the library.
Starbucks.
Yeah.
Every
we-
store.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah.
Oh, well,
They can go to Singer Hill and use Wi-Fi too, and a lot of people are sitting over there doing it.
They
But
go to McDonald's.
yeah, I'm just saying that there are a lot of people in there using the Wi-Fi. That's one of the things they come there for. So having those spaces where people can do that.
And I think that the difference is that if you're using a coffee shop or somewhere else, you have to pay for it. I mean, like, there's that sense of I'm going to buy a cup of coffee. And I think that one of the things about the public library is that you don't. I know that it is a guaranteed place that I can go and access the internet
Right.
freely.
Right.
City Hall, I would not feel comfortable doing that. Do you know what I mean? Because it's
Probably
it's a
wouldn't
different public
be
space.
comfortable
It's a different
doing, yeah.
concept.
Not
Very different,
encouraged.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to see. Public Works had to rouse 3 people off their building because they were using the Wi-Fi.
I know. We have people on our stairs like all the time, you
Yeah.
know, before we open, after we open, yeah. So anyway, the other figures do look really, really good. There's more people using the self-check. We earned more money out of fines and fees. We offered more programs. We've started tracking like how much time we spend formally teaching technology, because there's like little appointments that can be set up. And then also people come in and do ask, but I think we're tracking that. But it's like if we actually sit down with them and like have an extended conversation, not just like, how do I do such and such. So that is, gosh, I went crazy with those dots, didn't I? It was 15 hours, not 1.5 hours.
See, I thought that was a
No,
little low.
yeah, no, it was 15 hours. That's
that
why.
makes more sense.
And that they thought that was more than usual. So I would imagine that maybe 10 is more average. So, that's taking somebody away from a desk or whatever for those hours. And we
I think
kind
that's
of,
really good to track that.
yeah, I do too. We schedule it, so anyway, that helps. And then our event-wise, the author event at the church just went really, really well. We had like 120 people, and it was a beautiful venue. And it just
What
was.
about the other, like Willie Vlonten? He should draw really big.
He might. We don't have him scheduled for the church. I don't think he's as well known as like
Just
Phil
on
Margolin.
Artbeat last week.
I know, and people who pay attention to that. But there are times when it's like I'd really want to pack the library as well.
Okay.
But I knew
Yeah,
that this would
that's a good
be
idea. Mm-hmm.
more than what the library could handle, and gratefully it was more than the library could handle, and it was just really comfortable and really attractive, and because they've got the sloped floor, so everybody
was
could
nice.
see. It was really nice, yeah.
So it was free to use the building? Okay.
Oh no, it was $50.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
That's not bad.
which is not bad considering.
nothing.
I don't think it even covered their electricity, for that night.
That's great.
Yeah, they're really good neighbors and partners, and the healthcare movie drew about 50 people at the Pioneer Center, which was a big hit. So, all of our events have been going pretty well. We had to cancel the First Friday film on the chocolate. And we've actually had people ask about when we're going to reschedule that, so that was kind of pleasing to me. And I'm not sure because we have movies lined up for March, April, and May. So March is going to be a movie called The Greenest Building, and it's been on OPB, but it's basically about the concept that the building that's already built is the greenest building if you can reuse it. So it's kind of a promotion on reusing and recycling and all that, and then kind of what the costs that we don't really think about are associated with tearing down buildings and stuff like that. And so I actually even asked the Secretary of State if that would be okay if we showed the building, because I didn't want to be seen as like promoting. And she's like, as long as you're not promoting the bond itself, it's just fine. So the producer actually has agreed to come talk. And the thing that's really interesting is it was filmed a lot in Portland and even in Oregon City. Alice Norris is in it.
Oh, wow.
So I
That's
invited her to
great.
come to see if she could make it. But it's also filmed in other parts of the country, so it doesn't feel too regional.
What date is that one?
That is March 7th, Friday, March 7th. Yeah. So I think that'll be really fascinating and very, very appropriate for our city. So I think that'll be really good. David Fraser gave that to me, and I was hooked as soon as I started watching it.
All right.
I think that's about it on the library director's report. Any questions?
So, shall we quickly do communications before we start the
Nobody's here.
interviews? Are there any communications from board members?
None.
Okay.
Other than last week's sit-in with the city council was very good.
Thank you for coming.
Sit in.
Well, I didn't do any speaking, but I sat and watched the proceedings, and it was eye-opening.
Came in the door.
Appreciate your three.
That's Elaine out there.
That's nice.
Who is
Good,
my friend. And
good.
she's
I was just
scheduled
wondering
at
how they
6.
got in. The door must be unlocked.
Oh,
I
weren't
need
they
to think-
supposed to come that way?
Well, the door locks
usually
at 5. That's the problem. And I was going to unlock it, and I didn't, so somebody else did.
Just so it
Thankfully.
walked in. Maybe Doug took care of it.
Nope.
And then item 7, just future agenda items. I would suggest that we talk about building committee next month if you have gathered enough information to move ahead on that.
You're not here next month, that's correct?
Oh, wait, yeah.
Oh, that's
We
right.
do need to talk about next month.
Okay.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Linda and I will both be at PLA. We're leaving that Wednesday so that we can attend sessions on Thursday and Friday and then come home on Saturday.
Great state of Indiana.
Yeah, yeah. but
Indianapolis is lovely.
Indianapolis is a nice place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're
Have
having
fun.
some big sports event or something that same weekend.
Oh, that'll be
Maybe
fun.
we'll go.
You'll probably be snowed in and not get there.
Say that.
Let's hope not. But
Okay.
yeah, so what do we want to do about the March meeting is the problem.
Do you want to do it? Can we move it to the 3rd week in March?
I think what we have to do is we can move it, but we can't have it here. So we would have to find another conference room, which would be fine in the building, which
Okay.
we could do that. And we would just record it with the sound recorder. So that date is,
I would prefer to move it to after you guys come back in case you have anything you want to share with
I
us.
think that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it would be better.
Okay, so usually I'm like in a city commission meeting on the 3rd Wednesday. I think that's when I started shutting down as I was thinking about this.
Okay.
So that would be, so March 12th would be our normal meeting, and March 19th is like the 3rd. But that doesn't start until 7.
We can do it.
And so maybe what we could do is meet like between 5 and 6 or whatever.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Let's
All
do
right,
it.
that sounds great.
March 19th.
What
March
date is that
19th
again?
between 5 and
19th?
6.
Are you going to talk about the video recording of the
Yes, and I have one other question for you
Okay.
guys.
Do we want to come back to it and invite our candidate in, or?
She's
Is it
scheduled
quick?
for 6 o'clock, the other person.
Okay.
The other person, can you go make sure nobody's waiting outside?
Sure.
I don't know how she got in, but, so let me just put this in for 5 PM. Library board meeting. The other question I had is, we can't start this next month, even if you agree to it, but Nancy Ide, our city recorder, has asked if we're interested in not doing any written meetings from here on out and just using the video recorded thing as our minutes record. Because she's trying to move us all away from paper, you know?
Mhm.
And you can see that I still like print up stuff for myself to look at and everything else.
Not doing what? What is the change?
Not doing typed up minutes. You know, because Linda comes and takes notes and writes minutes, and we
Yes.
formally approve those as minutes.
So what
So
would
we'd
we
be
have to
approving the
look
video
at?
instead.
You're just approving the video.
What video?
The video that's being taken of
I
us.
mean, where
every-
do we see it? We go to the website to
You can
look
go
at
to the
video?
website and look at it.
You have to
You
listen
wouldn't-
for a whole hour.
Well, you were here. I mean, what do you need to, like, you don't...
Don't remember. I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, that's what you would have to do.
Okay.
Yes. And so that's why
That's
it's
right.
important to think about, because it's a different concept than just reading through a couple pages
I
of
just don't
minutes.
see how that could ever work on the long term. I mean, it seems like with other groups, I look back at minutes and, yeah, we discussed it, this, you know, how would you ever retrieve that memory and, you know, information?
I don't know how you would search it, which is a really good question. Because, like, if you want to do a word search of minutes, you can, right?
Correct.
Well, you could do that, yeah. But like, yeah, it just seems like so, in, you know, different
How about-
groups that I'm part of,
Let's,
that you're
I think
always
that maybe
thinking
what we
about.
could do is we could think about it over the next month, and then do we need to do any approval or decision since we're not going to be taping it next month
Right.
anyway.
Yeah, it can't work next month
So
anyway.
do we want to discuss it next month so we could move
Yeah, and
ahead
let me
to
ask
making
about the
sure?
searching aspect, okay?
Yeah.
I second.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
yeah.
Okay, that
Okay.
sounds great.
So that's
Okay.
another future agenda item.
Yeah, another future agenda item.
Okay.
Perfect. Okay, so we're done with.
So both people are here.
Great.
Neither one could get in, but people let them in.
Oh, thank God, because I completely forgot.
He's
It
looking
wasn't
innocent
magic.
enough.
Yeah,